Hello and welcome to Gamerlatte. My name is Ellen and I'm really excited to be doing this video today. This whole channel is a project that I've wanted to start for quite a while, so naturally I just sat on it and I planned it and I thought I'm gonna wait for the perfect moment to do this, and then I realised that A, you can't plan an unscripted channel, and B, there is no perfect time. So now here we are. Cheers to that. So I guess there's a little bit of a backstory. I've been working in the games industry for a couple of years now, and I have been gaming pretty much my entire life. And I wanted to create this channel as kind of a place to talk about games openly, empathetically. There are plenty of incredible outlets that are critiquing games and reviewing games, you know, looking at their mechanics, talking about them from a more technical standpoint. Whereas here I wanted to focus on how games make us feel, the subject matters they cover, trying to uncover some, I don't want to use the phrase hidden gems, because I always think that as great as that sounds to us, discovering a game that, you know, hasn't been discovered yet, I imagine developers and publishers are not keen on the idea of a game being fantastic, but also completely unheard of. So talking about indie games and lesser known games, I guess is a fair way to say it. And just making this a really open, welcoming space to talk about games with others. That's kind of the dream, basically. To start with, I thought I would talk you through some games that are coming out this year that you might not have heard of, but that I think you should definitely be getting excited for. It's kind of a mixture of games that I've played at conventions, if you can remember those. Seems like a world away at this point. Games that I've played during the Steam Winterfest, which at the time of recording finished 2 or 3 days ago, I think, and other games that I've just seen trailers for, read about, and I'm incredibly excited for. I also feel like this will be a good way for you to get a vibe for the channel, but also the sort of games that I'm into. Whether you think we're into the same sorts of things, I'm always open to recommendations, so please bear that in mind. So to start with, I thought I would talk about The Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti. It currently doesn't have a release date, it's just been given the vague 2021 treatment, but I played this at PAX in 2020, which was the last convention I went to before the entire world shut down, and honestly it doesn't just feel like a world away, it feels like that was a different person that went to that. The Ellen that got to go jetting off to Boston to play games feels so incredibly separate from the Ellen that's sat here now drinking coffee and talking to you about them. The things I was able to do back then that now I couldn't even fathom being possible because it's been over a year since I have. Self-crisis aside, whilst I was at PAX, I played The Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti, played about 15 to 20 minutes of it, and I was totally hooked. I went straight to, it was in the Annapurna booth, I went straight to the front desk and bought the pin badge. That is how certain I am that this is going to be a good game. I also wrote about it on Games Radar, which is an outlet that I previously worked for, left not too long ago, and I just think it's so effortlessly cool and confident. I don't often know what people mean when they call games and films confident, but with this one it just felt so sure of its art style. It's sort of neon, psychedelic, very surreal. But basically you play as Francis Vendetti, and he is a musician who is trying to decide his I guess on-stage or rock persona ahead of a gig that he's playing. And you get to make decisions, sort of aesthetic decisions, to help influence his rock persona. Next we have another Annapurna title, which is Stray. This one I haven't played. There's actually very little information to date out about it. There's the trailer where you see the cat who's kind of wandering around this futuristic, cyberpunky kind of world. Although it's billed as a puzzle simulation game, which makes me wonder how indicative of the game that trailer actually is, if that makes sense. Often with cinematic trailers, you're clearly getting a shinier, more polished version of the game. That's only natural. But I find sometimes with puzzle games, the trailer and what you're going to get are very different, and you can't actually take too much from the trailer. What I mean is, sometimes you'll see this trailer and it'll almost look like this open world that you're seeing, and then what you'll actually get is a top-down or a side-scroller, which I've got nothing against. I'm just saying that I feel like we don't know what Stray is going to be yet. I think we might be surprised when we find out what it actually is. What I can say for certain is that you play as a cat. They can't take that away from me, that is for sure, and for now, that's enough, I guess. Okay, so my next one, I'm realising now, I have a couple of notes, just little prompts and things I don't want to forget behind me, and I'm realising now I've put 3 Annapurna entries in a row. Feel like I should have spaced them out a little bit so this didn't feel like just one big Annapurna fangirl. I am an Annapurna fangirl. I'm going to be completely upfront about that. I love Annapurna games, played all of them, love every single one. But that's not what I wanted this video to be. But that being said, the next game on the list is 12 Minutes. Another one I haven't played, another one we don't have too much information about, but as soon as I heard the words interactive thriller, I was sold. And then I heard the words Willem Dafoe voice acting, even more good words. I'm just completely sold by this. The plot seems to be that you're stuck in a 12-minute time loop in which you have to relive your murder and kind of figure out what's going on. Kind of Outer Wildsy, I guess. Like solving a mystery, but you've only got a certain amount of time and things start to unravel more as you repeat yourself. Genesis Noir. This is the next game on my list and I have absolutely no idea how to describe it, to be completely honest with you. It's one that I played during the Steam Winterfest, which I highly recommend. If you've not played any games during any of the Steam festivals before, it's just this time where demos of games are completely free to download. They're games that haven't come out yet. They often welcome feedback, which is also quite cool. So I highly recommend trying one if you haven't yet. But I played Genesis Noir. It was quite a short demo, I think, compared to some of the others. It is surreal, it's artsy, it's in black and white. You can tell I'm trying to only speak in like definitives because I'm too scared to like not do this game justice, but it feels so like this amorphous thing at the moment that I don't know how to nail it down. I might just Google the synopsis actually. Okay, so Genesis Noir is a noir adventure spanning time and space. When a love triangle between cosmic beings becomes a bitter confrontation, you'll witness a gunshot fired by a jealous god, otherwise known as the Big Bang. Jump into the expanding universe and search for a way to destroy creation and save your love. Maybe you can see why I struggled to sum it up. I was actually quite surprised by that as a summary because, like I said, the demo is quite short. It's hard to fully gauge what the game's going to be about, but it seemed to be heavily focused on jazz music. There's a lot of opportunities to kind of riff. You get to play with another musician whilst you're at a train station, I think. Yeah, the thing that made me lean into it the most was the idea that it's kind of a jazz game, I suppose, which is why this is so surprising to me. I love jazz, I truly adore jazz. I've played piano since I was small. I feel like the age I always choose changes every time. Between 6 and 10, I don't know exactly how old I was, but I adore jazz, and it had this really interesting mechanic towards the end of the demo, which I will show you now, where you kind of got to play with the music and you had this beat going on in the background. It was just so cool and I haven't seen anything like it before. So I really hope that jazz isn't just a small part of the game. I really hope they find some way to intertwine this idea of the Big Bang and creationism with jazz. I hope, but only time will tell. That's another one that doesn't have an exact date. It says Q1 2021, so the early part of 2021 basically, so we won't have too long before we can find out what the heck's going on with that one. Another one with a demo at the Winter Festival. I'm just as I'm saying that now, I'm realising how stargy that sounds. But another one that I played in the Steam Festival is A Long Journey to an Uncertain End, which I think is still in the process of being crowdfunded. If it is, I'll link to that below because, you know, of the two people that are watching this video, maybe one of you has a tenner to spare. But yeah, it was an interesting one. It's a beautiful name. I don't know why that's the first thing that struck me. It kind of reminds me of a book that I have only just started which I actually think I have. A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I feel like there are some parallels there. It's sci-fi and it's poetic, and that's kind of all I look for. Pop me in space and give me some beautiful dialogue and I am set. It's predominantly a management game, but it also calls itself a space opera, which is something I didn't see too much of. I'm not sure if I played it enough to see that through to fruition, but right at the beginning the game asks you your pronouns. It feels super gay, so to me those are 2 extra big ticks in the boxes there. I get the feeling the demo was still very early stages, but I also have high hopes for it nevertheless. I feel like now I've gotten 2 non-Annapurna games out of the way, it's only natural to talk about another Annapurna game. This one I played at PAX in the same booth as France's Vendetta, would you believe? And it's called Maquette. It's a puzzle game that kind of plays with scale. So a lot of the puzzles require you to warp the size of things and figure out how to cross certain things by making things bigger. I'm absolutely butchering the explanation, but it was really beautiful. The colour palette was wonderful, the music was great. I was going to say the voice acting was good, but just before I made this video, I saw that Bryce Dallas Howard is now signed on to be part of the voice cast, so I assume she is replacing the voice that I heard in the demo. Either that or this game is actually telling multiple stories rather than just one love story, which is what I thought was going to happen. But to quote the description, Maquette is a first-person recursive puzzle game that takes you into a world where every building, plant and object are simultaneously tiny and staggeringly huge. Which is an interesting premise, but also feels kind of like life right now. Like sometimes just the idea of going to the shop to get some more oat milk feels like a really easy task and also the hardest thing that you've had to do all week. So yeah. There's me just trying to assign meaning to stuff as usual. But yeah, it's a really nice game. It kind of gives me Witnessy vibes, like The Witness, the puzzle game, which I feel bad saying because I just have this feeling that maybe that's a game that's going to get compared to a lot and maybe the devs don't want to, or maybe they take it as a compliment. It is a great game, but I just really enjoyed it. They also gave me a pin for free for playing it, which I have here. I came prepared with the pin. It's very pretty. Also out of focus, I think. It also has a release date that's just around the corner, which is quite nice. There's no Q1 2021s. It's coming out on March the 2nd, so we don't have to wait too long for that one, which is nice. The final game is Song of Farka, which is another one I played during the Steam Festival, although frustratingly I didn't get to play the last like 5 minutes of the demo because the Steam Festival takes place over a few days, but I slept on it for the first few days, and then when it got towards the end, I went ham. I downloaded loads and loads of games, more than I could play in that time period, especially because it was during the week, like a work week. And then I left Song of Farka till last, which meant that I didn't get to play the last 5 minutes of it, which is particularly frustrating because Song of Farka is a game where you play as like a hacker PI, and so she takes on different cases and helps to solve them, which means the one case that you play in the demo I didn't get to solve because I didn't play the last few minutes of it. It is really interesting though. It's like split screen and the top half is the PI's apartment. I don't know whether that's going to change and take you to different places, but for the demo it's the PI's apartment. I can't tell if you can interact with it or not. In the demo you couldn't. She has like a dog that kind of walks around at one point and I was desperately clicking on it hoping that maybe I could give him scratches or something. Wouldn't play ball. But then the bottom half is her computer, which you can use to call and interrogate subjects. You can also hack into cameras and other technology, and then you have this kind of, I guess this game's version of Mind Palace, which is in this case more tangible. It's actually like displayed as a board where you can link things together. And yeah, all of that helps you figure out who done it, if that is the case in that particular case. But it's really fun. It has quite a nice style to it, and yeah, it just makes you feel like a work from home hacker, basically. So those are a handful of games coming out in 2021 that I think are worth getting excited over. It's nice to just have anything to get excited over in not to end it on a bleak note, but you know what I mean. But if any of the ones on the list are ones that you're excited for, then please let me know in the comments. Similarly, if I missed any out and you think I should be getting excited over them, then please let me know that in the comments as well. Any interaction that you have with me at this point really means a lot. If you want to subscribe, if you want to like, it really would mean the world to me. I'm very excited about my next video. It potentially involves some free games. If I need to incentivize, if I need to buy you to make you stay, I'm willing to do that. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you have a wonderful day, and goodbye.